Good afternoon. It's Friday, August 8th, 2014, and I thought I'd do a quick yarn meditation. I'm working on various projects, but this is one. It's a purple and black scarf that I'm going to be making for myself. I spend most of my time making other stuff for other people, which I don't mind at all. I absolutely love it, but I would like to have a scarf for wintertime as well. So in between all the other stuff that I'm making one for myself too. Let me see if I can get this. Okay, so yarn meditations. Basically what this is some of the things I think about when I'm crocheting and dealing with yarn and how it relates to life and people. And one obvious thing that I've noticed that we can relate to life and to people is that just like the way these stitches are, we're all connected. Very simple, but basically we're all on this planet. Now, we may not get along with everybody. I mean, there are people who they may not particularly care for me, and I don't care for them. But, everybody's different, and just, that's fine. Not everybody has to like what you do. But what I've been thinking about more than anything is the cost of war, not just financially, but in human terms, regardless of where the war might be, and how education is incredibly important, and not just for the individual. Obviously it is, but education is much more important to the health and growth of humanity and our society and our country, whatever country we're from. It's not something to be taken lightly, because if your people aren't educated, then there are so many negative ramifications for that. So many ramifications. And I guess one thing that disturbs me is I really can't think of anything positive that comes out of war most of the time, if not all the time. Of course, there are things worth fighting for, which is, freedom. And, that's... You hear the word freedom dropped a lot these days. Freedom is important. Human rights, incredibly important. I guess what I'm trying to say is, one thing that bothers me is the us versus them thing that we have going on in the world. And the thing is, yeah, we have different cultures and we have different ways of looking at things, because of the way we were raised or what we believe in as far as religion or politics or, cultural things. I hate when I get my hair in my yarn. So, no, I don't expect that everybody will have the same point of view, because we're human beings, and we're not going to always agree on everything. But one thing I think we really do need to look at is how we seem to do the us versus them so much that we basically end up looking at other people as not human beings and not being able to understand that they They have families, they have jobs, they have a life, and their life is important. Just because you don't live in a certain country or aren't part of a certain culture, that doesn't mean that you're better than they are. We're all human beings, is what I'm trying to get at. We are, in fact, all human beings. And when we put other people into the category of them, then that often allows us to do, really drastic and even criminal things. A good example of that would be with the Holocaust of Jews and Gypsies. And if you think that that can't happen again, then you're sorely mistaken, because it can. And I'm amazed at how we don't seem to learn from our past in so many ways. And if we don't realize that we're all on this earth together, and that trying to find cooperation and compromise whenever possible is much better than bombing people, and that goes for any country, then we're in a lot of trouble. Things are going to get worse, not better. Because when we look at people, and I have friends from different countries, different states in the U.S., they have different ideologies, they have different religions, they were raised in different cultures. And I feel that I'm very blessed to know them, because I want to learn. I want to know what it's like. What are their thoughts, their feelings? How did they grow up? What were the things that they thought about if they're not naturally born American? What did they think about people over here? What kind of stereotypes they have, of the so-called typical American. Trying to break down, find commonality between people is an excellent thing to do, and realizing that they can learn from us and we can learn from them, because there really is no us and them. It's a matter of that we're all people. We're all human beings. We all bleed the same way. And we should try to work on finding the commonalities between us, because there is no separation. We like to believe that there is. We like to categorize. We like to compartmentalize. We love to label. But the truth is, we're all just kind of trying to make it on this planet. There's so many illusions. Pretty much, you've heard me say everything is an illusion. There's so many false thoughts and illusions, rhetoric and propaganda that we really feed into. We give ourselves reason to, hate somebody else, hate a different country, put ourselves in a position where, well, we're obviously we're better than they are, right? Right? So you can see, that's not true, of course, but you can see that mindset. When you objectify somebody, another person, and treat them like they're not a person and not worthwhile, and you see them as an object rather than a breathing, living human being, then it's quite easy to do horrendous things to them and justify it. Like I said, if you think that the Holocaust could never happen again, you're sadly mistaken, because what I'm seeing these days are a lot of people who are kind of itching to punish the other. That's very scary to me, because I myself am an other. I'm not Christian, which to some people, in the way they believe, and then obviously I'm a heathen and don't have as much value as they do. Some people would believe that. I'm also I'm not right-wing and I'm not conservative. I'm liberal, which to some people is even worse than being non-Christian. And that's all very scary to me, because how do I know that this propaganda and the hatred is not going to reach me and my husband? He's atheist, by the way. He's also not conservative right-wing. How do I know that one of these days we're not going to be the other, and people are going to justify doing horrendous things to people like my husband and I? Now, you might think that that's reaching, but I sincerely do not think it's reaching, and it alarms me, to be honest. I can only hope that people like you, who are on my friends list, will never be silent in the face of such horrendous situations. That you will never be silent when it comes to people who are treated as the other, who are, like the Japanese were put in internment camps and that sort of thing. The Jews, well, the Holocaust, hello. And you've got genocide all over. You're seeing it happen right now in various countries. And I can't think of a single thing that is positive or is beneficial in that. There's not. So be very careful how you categorize people. Be very careful of not treating human beings as the other. Because once you put them into the box of the other, then that somehow gives you an idea that you can treat them differently, or even torture them, or punish them without any remorse. If you're a moral and ethical person, and if you do have a conscience, then you know that that's not the right thing to do. You have to judge people individually based on who they are, not based on, all certain people are all like this. Certain people are all like that. That's very dangerous. So I guess my yarn meditation today is to remember that when we're talking about the world, all of us sharing this planet, we're talking about all of us being stitched together, that we're all on one planet. And what happens depends on if we remind ourselves that we're all connected in some way. And what we do to ourselves as humanity is could very well threaten our existence as human beings. So that's my yarn meditation for today. I'm sorry my hair's all fluffy-wuffy. Just remember, the next Holocaust might be somebody like me and my husband, or somebody like you. And you really have to stop and think and say, you know what, I'm not going to allow that to happen. if that comes down the pike, I will do everything I can to stop it and to get people to realize how foolish it is, and how devastating. So if you would do that for me as a fellow human being, then I would very much appreciate it, because I wouldn't want to die just for being who I am, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to either. So give that some thought, and I'll be back next time with another blog or yarn meditation of some sort. Who knows what I'll be talking about. But have a good weekend, and thanks for listening.